What is up, YouTube? Welcome to the video. So, figured I'd hit you with a little voiceover today. And I was going to overlay my training from the past 2 days from Monday night and then Tuesday morning, a little speed session and leg day. But in this voiceover, I'm not even going to talk anything about the training. I just kind of want some B-roll over it instead of just staring at my face. You get to watch something, helps with the dopamine receptors. Maybe you'll stay on the video longer. Hopefully, the message will hit a little bit. But the thing I wanted to talk about the most was kind of like the last year and a half. I know I've talked a lot about it, like self-confidence and self-esteem. And I got a good question actually in my Q&A on Instagram, which I love doing once a week. And it was like, what's the biggest thing you would like overcome to do what you're doing now? And I've spoken quite a bit about it, but like it has been overcoming those negative self-talk and that negative belief and that poor self-esteem. And the reason I'm actually doing the voiceover with these videos is because on these particular days, Monday and Tuesday, I was in like a weird headspace, and nothing's wrong. Everything's great. It was just like, those days you just have where you're not yourself and you're second guessing stuff in that. And it kind of like reminded me of like how far I've come. And I think it was super, maybe it's good to like feel those again, to like, kind of like keep yourself humble and remind yourself, because on Monday and Tuesday in particular, I like my mind was like in my old headspace that I used to like be in 24/7 for like a long time, where I was super low confidence, low self esteem, like this imposter syndrome, not feeling confident, just not feeling myself. And I don't know, it was weird those 2 days, but it was like as I've been reflecting upon it, and as I do this voiceover on a Wednesday, it was actually kind of good, I guess, to experience that again, because it like reminded me how far I have come and how far I will continue to go. So, little backstory and something I want to share, and it's actually funny. I'm sharing this on a YouTube video because I've literally never told one person this. So I was like, well, you know what? Why not just tell thousands of people at once on a YouTube video who could potentially watch this? Just pour it all out. But anyways, probably like 2.5 years ago, well, it was a little less than 2.5 years ago, there was like a 5 to 6 month span where I was just like super depressed. Like, yeah, again, I've never told anyone this, but like I was just super down in the dumps, like, yeah, in a horrible headspace. I had like super, super negative thoughts, like super dark thoughts. And yeah, it's, I guess, cool to think about and to reflect back on, because it's like it shows the growth I've seen in the last like 2 years. But even in like my last, just from like my old way of thinking to now, and not that I have everything figured out, and that's the reason I'm sharing this video, is because I was kind of in that mindset these 2 days. And as you're going to see in this clip, I hit that speed workout. I came into the gym to do this lift, and I got so frustrated. I was in such a horrible mindset that I ended up actually like overwhelming myself. And you'll see in the next clip, I came back the next day to actually hit this lift. So with it, I was just like, yeah, I remember going through those 5 to 6 months, and it was just like, it was a really weird time. And like, it was weird because it was like things were going great. I was in grad school, like great friends, family, things seemed to be going well. But I just remember like silently struggling for a long time. And it was frustrating. It was weird because I didn't really know what caused it. And I almost felt like guilty saying I was like depressed during that time, because it was like, I really felt like there's no right I should be. I had this super fortunate life and this and that. And I don't know, it was just a weird time. So like, the reason I bring that up is because I like to reflect upon how far I've come, because there are still days like these 2 days in particular where I'm like hard on myself. I'm like, I've done nothing, I've accomplished nothing. It's like I look back, and over just the course of the last year and 3 months, since I started posting on social media, since I started doing Instagram and YouTube, like obviously the growth on social media and how that's impacted my life, and now getting to do this full time. But it's the mental thing that's like drastically impacted my life. The mental things I've noticed that I've now like seen in my everyday life, and like just like my everyday thought process, it's been life altering. And it's so cool to see, because I was always in that mindset like, oh, I'm just always gonna be this unconfident, low self-esteem person and this and that. I always knew I could amount to something. I wanted to do something special, but I just like that barrier of overcoming like these perceptions and these make believe beliefs in my head was like such a huge hurdle to overcome. But, and no pun intended, holy shit, I did not plan that up where I was jumping over the hurdle. Oh my God, that was awesome. That's funny. But anyways, but it was a huge hurdle I had to overcome, was those make believe beliefs. And for the longest time, I was like, I would say, like, I use this analogy, I was like scared of my shadow. Like, I would just be like, always making up these beliefs, like how someone's going to perceive me, or like just never thinking I was good enough, or seeing someone else doing something special and be like, oh, I can't do that, or this and that. Just super negative self talk. So, things that's helped me has just been like, I action precedes confidence. So for me, the reason I love working out so much is because it's just a daily like deposit into my bank account of like, all right, I do this thing and I do it well and I do it hard and I deserve this. And I like working out once, twice a day because it's like that daily reminder that, hey, I've earned this. I deserve this. I've been doing this consistently at a very high effort for almost 13 years. So like those days where I feel like I'm not worthy or I don't deserve this and that, I think back on those actions I've accumulated, and it helps me erase those negative thoughts. Because for me, especially during that 5 to 6 month span that I talked about, I like leaned into that. Whereas like I had these negative thoughts and it almost like kind of felt good to feel bad for myself. So I would like lean into it rather than like stop them in their tracks and be like, no, that's not how you think, erase that. And so I know how people feel like if you struggle silently, like, yeah, I remember those 6 months, man. It was a weird time. It was a rough time. But you know, I always remember this analogy. It felt like this storm, like it was pouring rain out. It was dark. It was windy. And then no matter what direction I went or how fast I ran or walked, like it just felt like the storm was never ending. And like that storm was my brain, essentially, like my mind. And then it just felt like it was never going to end. And then it eventually does, and things get better. And I, I'm fortunate it ended, and I got through that. And I don't know. I don't know if I would be here without it. I think it was almost good in a sense I experienced that, I guess, because now I can kind of like, when I am hard on myself, I'm like, oh, you don't deserve this, or second guessing it. I was like, no, you've gone through stuff, and you have the right to be here just like anyone else. So, yeah, almost in a weird way, it's like, sometimes like the bad stuff leads to the growth. So, like, whenever, you know, again, I just reflect upon that a lot because it's like, it's so cool to see the growth you can make. Again, I was someone who was in this negative mindset where it's like, oh, I'll just always be like this. I'll never be this confident person. I'll always like be too scared of this. And it is so fucking cool to see the growth in the last 2 years, to like see the night and day differences. And especially on these days, like I explained earlier, on these 2 days, I was in like kind of that weird mind headspace. It was like, as I reflect now, and it's Wednesday now that I'm doing this voiceover, and like I'm back to kind of my normal self. It's like, it's just so cool to know how far I've come. And maybe it's almost good to experience those negative thoughts again, to like almost like remind yourself like, hey, we've gotten through this, we'll get through it again. And then, you've come so far. So I don't know. I love making content, and I love making these YouTube videos, and something I've been wanting to do is be more like, and I try to be, as like open on camera, because obviously with YouTube, the power to talk and unlimited time frame to talk about whatever. And obviously I love fitness, but also like talking about struggles and failures I've gone through, because I think it's important. People can always relate to it. And whenever I watch someone else on YouTube or someone I respect, and that maybe they share something that's kind of vulnerable, I always like, it impacts me, and then I read the comments and it impacts a lot of people. So maybe that can help someone out, and hopefully it can, because believe me when I tell you, I had like zero confidence, zero self-esteem for the longest time. And not to say I'm this super confident person. It's a day in and day out process. You have to constantly put yourself in those situations, and again, put those actions precede the confidence. So for me, the way to be confident on social media is forcing myself to make these videos, forcing myself to be vulnerable on camera, forcing myself to do stuff that I wouldn't typically want to do, and that gives me so much confidence. So yeah, maybe kind of all over the place with that, but kind of felt like sharing that. Just like that's where my headspace was at the last 2 days, and it kind of made me reflect upon like that 5 to 6 month stretch that I went through, and like I guess being proud of how far I've come. Maybe it's cheesy, I don't know, but I just appreciate everyone watches my videos, man. It really means a ton, and hopefully I can provide some stuff with this channel. Hopefully we can get deep and vulnerable, because that's what life's all about. So hopefully you enjoy this workout. It was a good session that Tuesday after having a shitty one on Monday, but hey, you come back and you attacked it consistently good rather than occasionally great. Let's go.